Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. The Constitution of Cameroon gives no room for any postponement of presidential election from October 27 this day to October 5, 2025. We have 343 days to the next presidential election in the country. What are the signposts on the ground to signal that political parties are ready for the poll? That is our focus on Press Hour today. I am Kilian Ndifon, a Yaoundé. You're welcome back. This is a period in our country that many people have described as very sensitive, as very delicate, for so many reasons. We think it is. We think those people, their different descriptions are correct. We have to watch out. On Press Hour today, we are beginning a series of questions on the political landscape. Today, are political parties in our country ready for a presidential election which is 1 year away, which is less than 365 days away? And someone said, if you choose not to vote, you have voted for whoever is going to be your leader. And there is just no way you can come up and blame that person. Staying away is a weakness in politics. So many people say that. We're going to discuss this and more on today's edition of Press Hour, and to talk about this very crucial topic that touches the lives of all our Cameroonian brothers and sisters are Kungaba Fongo Lionel. He is the National Executive Committee member of the Social Democratic Front Party, the SDF. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kiran. Happy Sunday to all our viewers all over the world. Happy Sunday to my co-panelists. It's always a pleasure to be on Press Hour to discuss issues concerning our country. And the topic we are discussing today is a very important one because this concerns the future and Cameroon of tomorrow. So it's a pleasure for me being here today to talk about this pertinent topic.
Thank you very much for coming. And we also have one other person who is representing a political party, the ruling party. Robert Kedia is a communication official of the CPDM Central Committee. Welcome to the program, Robert.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Special greetings to my co-panelists. Special greetings to all Cameroonians that have taken their time to sit in front of their TV set as we analyze current political issue in our country. Special greetings to the head of state, the President of the Republic, the great leader that triumphantly came back into Cameroon, where the street of Yaoundé was filled with people singing and praising his return triumphantly. It is an honor to have the head of state, the President of the Republic, back in the country. Special greetings to the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji.
And so many others.
That took a good decision to stop the Romo that was aimed by the enemy of the state to scare away our investors. Remember, when presidential elections are going on, or when a president resigns, or when a president dies on seat, you realize that all investors will definitely withhold their move to invest in that country. And that was the motive of the haters of the Republic that decided to spill such false rumor about the president to scare our investors away. But Minister Tanganji was very, very clever to take that brave decision to stop such rumors so that our investors will come back. When many other people were talking about
yes,
freedom.
we are going to,
okay.
You have time to talk about that. We are going to start with, this is just the introductory part of the program. I allowed you because you are talking about your president. I'm talking about our president of the country and then the national president of your party,
Yes,
that is the CPDM. You will have enough time to talk about him and to talk about other people. Thank you very much, Kedia. You are just coming in from Douala for this program, and we always appreciate your presence each time we stretch our hand to you. Now, still in politics, I introduce Franklin Sengui Mofo, who is a political scientist. Welcome to the program. You are a political scientist. You told me you studied political science. Where did you study?
Thank you, Mr. Killian, for giving me the opportunity to express myself here. Special greetings to my co-panelists and special greetings to the entire Republic of Cameroon. Yeah, I study law and political sciences in the University of Chang. I graduated. I have a bachelor's degree in the Faculty of Law and Political Science. Equally, I have a postgraduate diploma, what in the French section they call it maîtrise in public law, before traveling out to Europe to study my master's again in ethnic and migration study, specialized in policy analysis.
Thank you, and that's why we've brought you here with all that portfolio that you have. We know that you can analyze political events ably. Then we move over to the extreme left of the set to welcome Richard Ndelajong, a colleague, publisher, and editor-in-chief of the Herald Tribune newspaper. Richard, glad to have you on our set today.
The pleasure is shared, Killian, and greetings to all the panelists. Happy to be amongst some top-notch in different political parties, to be able to share knowledge, especially with upcoming events. And so I think that at the end of the day, Cameroonians will be able to get something important from what will come out of our discussions here.
Yes, and the kicker is press review. Emmanuela Vemnui has been on that beat. She read the newspapers for Press R. Emmanuela.
Newspapers are awash with the story of the return of President Paul Biya to Cameroon. Cameroon Insider headlines: Paul Biya is back in the office. To The Voice, after 49 days away, Biya is home. It is a triumphant return home to the media, which writes, Paul Biya is back to a messianic welcome accorded by the nation in the Chronicle Times, the same nation that welcomes Father in Ecstasy. In municipal updates, the Eden sees a historic welcome home for Paul Biya, but it is a triumphant return home after 49 days of absence. In the horizon, The Guardian post on its part is in an urgent need for an Anglophone as head of state. To the paper, after 63 years of Francophones in this position, it is time for Anglophone to be president. Newswatch reports that Biya makes strategic military appointments after return from prolonged stay abroad. Happening at a time Northwest heavily indebted poor councils send motion of support to Biya after FACOM counsel their debts in the post. Then Limbe City Mayor launches budget orientation on income-generating projects to boost development in the Eden. Polls then show that only 24.7% of Anglophones support fight for independence through war in the horizon, before the interim Minister of Mines embarks on an official visit to the littoral and southwest regions in the Herald Tribune. The median is clear that the visit of Professor Fukalistus Gentry is to implement the industrialization master plan, one that will boost Cameroon's industrialization, according to The Voice. As the interim minister engages stakeholders on sustainable gas supply in municipal updates, he says Cameroon will soon be a leading tiles producer in Central Africa, in the Guardian Post. At the time, Biya's envoy Dion Gute and others to review growth and markets Cameroon's economic potentials at the Commonwealth meeting in Samoa. In municipal updates, ICT University unveils 5 billion CFA francs investment to drive Cameroon's economy and encourage innovation in The Voice. Nation is reported in shock as video of soldiers torturing Longue emerges in the Guardian Post. Then Defense Minister orders for investigation into this video in The Voice. In sports, during the Professional Fighters League Super Fight, Francis Ngannou unleashed frightening power on Renan Ferreira in the Herald Tribune. Tribune then pockets 6 billion CFA francs in 3 minutes in the median, making Cameroon Insider to affirm that the predator is back, as he announces next target to either be MMA or boxing in Newswatch. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
Thank you very much, Emanuela. And the Hour with the Press is ruling. Richard, you are the press man on the set. You followed some of the newspapers, and we also saw what your newspaper, the Herald Tribune, wrote. One issue that caught your attention that we're going to talk about.
Yes, Killian, I think 3 issues actually caught my attention within this week in the press. I want to talk on the president's arrival last, but I want to first talk about Minister Fu Kalisu's visit to the Littoral and the Southwest region. I think he's trying to implement the dream, the views of the head of state as far as import substitution is concerned, because from the minister's visit, we were able to know that Cameroon has a lot of potentials that we can use clay instead of clinker, which is the final product for cement, and we have abundant of it in Cameroon. So instead of importing clinker to produce cement, which is expensive, I think if we go by clay, which is found on our subsoil, I think it's going to cause cement to be cheaper in the market, and it will also boost a lot of development as far as construction is concerned.
The second issue?
And the second
Before you go to the second issue, I think that I should also recommend Minister Fu Kalistus Gentry. He is actually revolutionizing so many things in the mining and industrial sector. Yes, the second issue.
Yeah, the second issue too, which has made news within the week, is the video that came out with the famous artist Longe Longe being tortured by elements of the military security, and from what we get, is accused of making a statement back in 2000, after the 2018 presidential election, and so I think whatever he said, that was his opinion, and the type of punishment that was being given to him, I don't think a person of that caliber, he's a star. I mean, he's known worldwide for his artistic contributions. So for him to receive that type of a punishment, I think is something to be condemned, and I'm happy that the minister delegate, the presidency in charge of defense, has ordered for an investigation, but we hope that the result of this investigation is also made public, and those who perpetrated the act should be brought to book and shown to the public. Those investigations should not only end in drawers.
That is true. Exactly when the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense, Joseph Betty Asomo, who is a very strict person, whom we know to have punished officials and elements of the defense forces who have wavered from being professional, is going to do that. We agree. But at that level, since an investigation is open, we cannot conclude, as you said, that there were elements of the security forces. Thank you. The third and the last issue.
Last is what they say, the triumphant entry of arrival of the head of state back to his country. Many also think that...
to our country.
To our country. Many think that he's visiting the country because for a head of state to have stayed out of the country for more than close to 50 days without people knowing what is happening, and which led to a lot of speculations, which now some ministers will come out to say, yes, Killian,
and you seem to join those people without telling them, as a journalist, that the head of state left Cameroon for an official visit
in China,
yes, and then linked that up with another official visit in Europe. So you should be the one.
Another official visit in Europe that was not made public. Was it made public? Because there were other happenings in the world, the UN General Assembly and other summits that were going on, but he was not there. So was it made public that he was attending to other issues out of Cameroon, apart from the release that the Director of Civil Cabinet came out with after Minister Paul Atanganji came out and said people should stop talking about the head of state's health? I mean, I don't understand how in a country, Kilian,
yes,
a president, I mean, I just pray that God gives him long life. For 42 years in power, we have never known that the head of state is sick. And so if people at one moment start speculating that the head of state might have been out because he is sick, I think
is it not normal?
It is normal, but
Yeah,
why
but then
should
what
a
the
minister
force?
come out to say people should not talk about the head of state's health? Is
We're
it normal
talking
that
only about, no, let us be
that?
very frank. Let us be very frank. Be very frank with ourselves. They're only speculating about his health, or they were talking about his demise. No,
Well,
let us be
about
very
his
frank.
demise, I don't want to go there because
No, because that
I know,
is where the point is.
No, I don't want to talk about his demise.
About his health.
His demise came from wherever, which is not my concern.
But that exactly is what we are saying.
Yeah,
As a journalist,
about the demise,
as an informed journalist, you are not supposed to start the way you started by kind of following the same.
No, the demise about his death came is because people were already speculating about his health.
So people
and
are wishing.
It was just normal.
Those people who are wishing he should not be there, they have parents who are like him, wishing those parents to live long.
Exactly.
So that can only be malice on the side of people who have their own parents, wish them long life, and wish that another person
others died.
Yeah,
and
so
that
exactly,
is why even
as journalists,
as
a journalist, that is exactly the type of message that I think we should carry. And now you come and say, yes, we have a right to know the whereabouts of our head of state, not actually saying that you join the
we wanted to know. The newspapers had published and asking about the head of state's whereabouts, and nobody ever came out until a video emerged talking about his demise, which wasn't true, of course.
How much of your newspaper did you use to investigate to tell people that was wrong, because it was wrong? Now let me go over to Kedia to say a word on that, and then we'll move over to some other things. Yes, Robert?
The issue is very clear. When people take moves to destabilize the nation, all of us here, we are intellectual. We know what it means when such rumor about the demise of a president, what it occurs, especially in the economic domain. It was made to scare away our investors. Even within the country, there are many people that pull out their money from the banks. Those are the effect that it had on our economy. And that's why the minister had to come and stop all that.
Do you have statistics to prove that?
You are an investigative journalist. You should ensure to know about that.
That's a sweeping statement.
Permit me to go further to talk about the fact that those people that want to destabilize the state, I saw them bowing their head in shame as the president came out. He was welcomed by children, parents, school children, as they praise him. If you could look from Simalen, permit me to thank the general manager of CRTV that was able to broadcast that live, where we saw people line up from Simalen to the Unity Palace. That's always the problem. When people come out to rejoice, because we don't share the same opinion with them, we come to say they have been hired. So you want to say almost more than 1 million people that stood at the street were being hired? No, we should not even spread fake news. I appreciate all those that came to welcome the president. The president has always been working. He was out of the country working, and he's back. He's still working. The fake news people can bow their heads in shame.
Yes. Richard, there are certain things we are here to enlighten the population on certain things. Can you look at us again and say that these people are hired in terms of representation, political representation, and following Cameroon? Do you have a match?
Women coming back from the farms.
Can you also can you also tell the public that those who came out of sincerity, that nobody forced them to come out to stand on the streets? Can you also tell the public that? We know.
I think that
for almost a week, Kilian. So we know buses that were being hired. People were being registered.
Are you talking about hiring buses of people?
Excuse me. The people were being registered to be ferried to the airport to receive the president on a date that
let me ask.
And
this is an important issue.
Yes.
You expect people to walk from Yaoundé to Nsemalen to show that.
Why don't they pay their transport?
Of course, why don't they pay their transport?
What is your problem with
You people are talking about those at the airport. I'm not talking about those at the airport.
Even
I'm talking
along the streets here,
those around
along
Van,
the streets of Yaoundé.
the population around Van was paid.
They were just being curious.
But you already said they were hired.
Just being curious.
You said they were hired.
Activities were not
You
moved.
should have even said some were hired. You said they were hired.
People had no choice than to stand by the roadside, waiting for him to pass, and they move about the activities.
Well, when we are here, the advantage that we have is that the public assesses us directly. When we make certain statements, we should assume, to the best of my knowledge, and deep down, all of us, we know that there are divergent opinions in Cameroon. That is part of democracy. But to say that people are hired, knowing the following of this political party, I think there is lack of sincerity somewhere. Yes, Lionel.
Before I go into the main topic, I want to say that we should be sincere with Cameroonians and we should tell them people were hired and some were even forced to leave their classrooms and various institutions to go and welcome the president. The other thing my brother Keja was saying, that the population he saw in Ban, you do accept with me that when there is any outing of the president, all the activities are stopped, vehicles are blocked, and when they block this vehicle, those who are crossing or going from one way to the other are obliged to stay at beside the road to wait for the president to pass for them to go for their and what I want to say here is that, Kilian, we cannot be in a country where
let me ask you a question on that.
Yes, sir.
Since you are insisting on that.
Yes.
Are you also insinuating that those who attend SDF rallies and other meetings?
Was that a rally?
No, I'm talking about public. That
wasn't a rally. That wasn't a rally.
I'm talking about.
Let me tell you. I'm a militant of Yaoundé too. I want to talk about it again.
No, you have to.
I'm a militant of Yaoundé too.
Don't escape. Answer
and
the question.
I saw.
No, I'm not finished asking my question.
Okay.
Answer my question. SDF hires those people who come.
That wasn't a rally, please.
No, a rally is just an example. SDF hires people or not?
We don't hire people, and that's why you will not see people there that are not
happy.
That's
the answer.
That's why you will not see people that are not happy. I want to say that we are politicians and we are on the field and we see some of these things and we know how it happens. I take an example of Yaoundé too. I know how people were carried from Carrefour Prefecture Tinga and the Council of Yaoundé too to the presidency and to the other places
that's
of
another
Yaoundé.
issue. I cannot accept that.
Please,
you know what? No, I cannot accept
please,
that.
those are things that happen. We should tell Cameroonians. So don't try to tell Cameroonians that somebody is popular whereas he is not.
Their militants. It's normal.
It is very normal. All situations
is normal. But don't say all those around the street were all hired. We should be honest.
But do you think all those around the street were there because they wanted to be there?
No,
some were passing and they had to stop.
Why didn't say they were hired? Oh, now you are saying some were passing. You are saying now that some were passing. But at first people said they were hired. Now you say some were passing.
My brother.
You said some were passing. Now some were hired.
We agree that some of them were hired. And we have there are images, there are videos showing where they are being being given money.
You were not supposed to generalize.
A letter online where he was asking students that he was composing for all the students to be there.
This is it. All letters, you saw it on social media. Do you have a copy? Yes, we are on. That was just a breather because the atmosphere was tense. It is not like saying that we are not going to continue to talk about this topic because this is what we are saying. Richard was just coming back on his statement. You just started saying that, okay, you first said they were hired. After that, you started saying that they were passing. You said it. And then again, now you said some of them were actually, which shows that type of inconsistency and probably an intention to misinform people on our side. No, you have changed. You changed in front of all of them.
Well,
now, The political scientists, analysts have not said anything. Just one word, and then we'll move into our topic.
Thank you, Mr. Killian, for giving me the, the floor. What I'm going to say here is that Cameroonians are very intelligent and peace-loving people. We should mind the kind of information we dish out to them, and we should know that we can be held accountable for such information. So what I think is that we should not be talking left and right. We should focus to educate the entire nation since we are gearing towards 2025 presidential election. That is my own point of view.
Thank you very much. And we also want to inform and plead with our panelists that you cannot come here and then you are quoting social media documents to us. We'll obviously tell you, you need to have a document.
The way Cameroon is being governed, that's where we find some of the basic and important information presently in our country.
On social media.
That's where the way Cameroon is being governed.
Cameroon is not governed on
social media.
The Republic is not governed on social media.
Was it on social media?
Please.
Was it on the conventional
Please don't say the way
media house?
Cameroon is governed
The
on
way
social
Cameroon is governed.
We are not governed on social media.
This is why we are here. We have pending elections in 2025, 2026, particularly the presidential election. That is 343, that about days to come, because the election will take place on October 5, 2025. When you do the counting, then the electorate will be summoned 90 days before the poll, which falls by July the 2nd or that about. We don't have so much time, but we don't see so many political parties in action, doing so many things to show us that they are ready. And we have about 360, 70 political parties in Cameroon. What activities are they ready for this election? This is the question we are asking on Press Hour today. We're going to start with the political scientist from a political point of view as an analyst. Do you see political parties actually involved in activities to show that they have that very crucial election coming up in our country?
Thank you once again, Mr. Killian, and permit me to say in relative terms that the quality of our electoral process is very slow if we intend to compare it to other maybe Western countries like that. Given the time frame that we have now to 2025, it means that we are basically doing nothing. In my own point of view, I'm saying that I'm not seeing any political parties per se that is ready for the upcoming 2025 presidential election. This is a presidential election that we are talking about, even though there are legislative and a municipal election. But presidential election...
That one will come up in 2026.
Yes, in 2026. But with presidential elections, that is, we are trying to elect somebody that is going to represent us in the next 7 years. And up to this moment, everywhere is just silence. You don't hear political parties. Thank God we have some of our political...
Who are going to tell us, yes.
Who are going to tell us what exactly is happening. But now, in my own perspective, I'm not saying anything. Despite some outings, but such should not be a political campaign. Even though you said the political parties are going to be called 90 days. In some way...
The electorate, yes.
The electorate.
Polls, yes.
But our electoral code...
90 days to the election. That would be by July the 2nd, 2025.
Then you see that we don't have time. But permit me to use this simple illustration. Back then in my university lectures in political science, I was taught that the political system is one of the complicated systems to determine the outcome. I will use the moon to illustrate what I'm trying to say. When you see during lunar events on the first quarter, or when the new moon is out, depending on the time zone where you find yourself, you see that the moon is divided into two parts.
Yes.
One part is completely covered with darkness. Then another part is shining. That shining part represents what you and I can see, interpret, analyze, and even predict the outcome. But the other part covered with complete darkness is very difficult to know what is operating in that system. There is one...
Now, link that to our topic.
Yes, there is one a writer called Michael Mann. He called that the dark side of democracy, meaning that only those who are within that circle knows what is happening. That is the political parties. They know what is happening there. But right now, they are supposed to be informing the public that something is coming up in 2025, so that the population should be ready, not just staying quiet, social media staying quiet, international observers also are staying quiet. It shows no sign of seriousness.
Well, I will advise you to use another word. It doesn't make them less serious. Probably it's something else. You cannot bundle them and say they are not serious. Press R is so keen to some of those words. You don't bundle people. Political parties will respect, and then you say they are not serious.
Permit me, Mr. Killian.
Yes.
Permit me, Mr. Killian, to use using that word, not serious. But I think they need to do more.
Thank you very much. Now, you have heard, you are a member of the National Executive Committee, NEC of the Social Democratic Front, the SDF. The accusation that you've heard from the political analysts is what so many people are seeing out there, very little activity. What do you have to say about your preparedness? Are you ready for the election?
I think the Social Democratic Front is one of the oldest opposition party in Cameroon, and we have prepared and attended many...
1990 is not old. Now we have 1960.
That's what I'm saying, one of.
Oh, okay.
I said one of. And we are preparing to see how to go in for a new election. And I want to say we are matured in this domain. And preparing for an election is not parading on media or on social media and telling people what we are doing. This time around, we are trying to do a professional work, more professional than what we have been doing, because as you can notice, after being elected as the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, the Right Honorable Chief Joshua Osei took time to go around Cameroon and do some consultation with a huge delegation of party members and officials, which they went around the 10 regions and they met Cameroonians of all walks of life, which they discussed on how they think or how they view the future of this country. And a program is being drafted now. We already have the draft. We are working on how to do some touches, final touches, and present the socio-economic and program to Cameroonians, which will come up before the end of this year, certainly, because we need some time for Cameroonians to appropriate or to make or the Social Democratic Front to make known this program to the population, to the public, and to all those who are willing to see a change in this country. When you say political parties are not doing anything, I want to tell you that for 1 year of mandate of this new NEC executive, we've done a lot. And the changes have been seen within and out of the party. We have brought together, out of the 13 confederations of workers in Cameroon, 7 which are already working with the Social Democratic Front. We've put in place another platform of a progressive party in Cameroon, of which they are working towards seeing how to harmonize all the progressive forces to conquer power. And again, we are putting in place new technologies and many other new tactics that I cannot put in place here, because these are some of the secrets that will enable us to reach a to the. Killian, when I sit on a plateau like this and I hear people saying political parties are not doing anything, I don't want to be the lawyer of other political parties, but you can see maybe 10 or 20 political parties on the field trying to carry out activities which at least are visible, and you know that these activities are towards the upcoming 2025 presidential election. Saying that these political parties are not doing anything or they have to do more again. You know, some of the political parties, my brother Kedia's party is maybe at a timeline because they are in power and they have the means. the state means to make sure that they be on par, on the timeline for people to see what they are doing. But I will say we are working and you will see the result.
When you say they have the means, are you saying without the means, that's why you are sleeping somehow?
The state means.
Little thing that you...
The state means.
No, but you're not supposed to...
You saw the president, you saw the president, the chairman of their party coming back in Cameroon. CRTV had to deploy their cameras to the airport to show it live.
When the president of the
Republic is not the chairman of the
chairman of CPDM.
No, please, let us be, as he says, that was the president of the
But
Republic.
he's chairman of CPDM.
Now, I am with you. When you look at what you're talking about, 1992, 1997, 2004, 2011 to an extent, 2018, the SDF has been going down the drain from the main opposition party that was rubbing shoulders with the ruling party. Now they skip from second, not to third, to fourth, and the situation is not changing.
Any political party in the world has its political bastion. The bastion of the Social Democratic Front, as known by all Cameroonians, was Northwest and Southwest. And with the crisis going on in the Northwest and Southwest, it was but normal that the result of an election like the presidential election for the SDF should go down at that level. When you take the result of all the various elections that we participated in since 1992 to date, and you calculate the result without calculating that of the Northwest, you see that that result is a constant result.
Is that not a weakness? I don't want
to justify the fact that we came fourth in this election, but I want to say that, Kilian, it's but normal that in a political party where people joined in 1992 and have been fighting to 2018 without taking power, they are financially exhausted, physically exhausted, morally exhausted. You bet with me that a young person that joined the SDF in 1992, who was 30 by then, in 2018 is 60.
Yeah,
is 66.
You see,
and I want to say,
that you are losing strength.
You are losing the strength, and that is it. And that's why we are trying to rejuvenate and to make sure that young people come in, and that's why you see some of us already they're working for.
We hope that you did that.
That's what has been done.
Yes, your party too, the CPDM.
The Secretary General already had given high instruction to all the section president to pass them on to the subsection president to ensure that all members of their cells and their basic organs have registered at Elecam, because we are doing calculation when we know that all our militants have registered at Elecam. We start to foresee the number of militants we have, to know the sympathizers we can have from the militants. And so that is what we have been doing. The election, the registration was great because our militants have registered. We are looking on how we can get back more sympathizers. And our objective is looking at those people that they are around the age of 14 to maybe 20 that could not participate in last election, but now they are about 20 years. Those are the people that we are strategizing to get them so that they can participate. You know, after 7 years, those that could vote at the age of, because voting is at the age of 20. So those that were at the age of 60, now they are at the voting age. So that is that generation of people that the CPDM is working seriously on the ground, in the field, to ensure that they register at Elecam, so that it will increase the number of sympathizers we do have already, and that is being executed very well. Secondly, I want to say that CPDM is a big political party where we pay our dues, our party dues, and it is from our party dues that we use the money to do our rally and anything we want to do. So I don't know why those of the opposition love to cry and bring in bias to say that it is state means. No, If your party militants cannot contribute to pay their cut every after 4 or 5 months, then don't blame the ruling CPDM party that is able to do that. Then let me just talk lightly about the opposition. There's something funny about the opposition. Preparing for an election, many of them are shouting coalition, coalition. It is embarrassing that many opposition don't even know the difference between an alliance and a coalition. They don't even know which one has to take place first. They don't know.
Tell us.
Good. Before an election, there is what we call an alliance, where people come together. Now, when you form your alliance, that's where you negotiate what the chairman of the SDF was saying another time, to have an accord. When you come for an alliance, you organize yourself, you agree. And if you come out from the election victoriously, then you form a coalition government. That is why us of the CPDM, we have parties that we are allied with them, and members of that party are part of the government, which we call a coalition government. And that is exactly what happened at South Africa. So now when you see political parties coming to call the term coalition, it means that they want to form already a government when they have not won an election. And when the Minister of Territorial Administration comes to say stop, they start to criticize him, because politicians, they don't understand basic terminology in political science. That's why I was even talking with Professor Evin Ngole, if it is possible that some of this opposition can just come and have maybe 6-month training at the Academy of CPDM, so that they can learn some of this terminology that they don't understand. Mr. Killian, can you imagine that political parties don't even know the difference between the manifesto of their party and the ideology of their party?
That is a topic we are planning to have on
You
Pressure
even
very
ask
soon.
a politician that what was your ideology of your party. They'll tell you, we want to construct roads, we want to build schools. They don't know what is an ideology of a party. It's only in Cameroon that instead to talk about an alliance, they are talking about coalition. How can people, when we even talk about the alliance, we should know that alliance go with people with the same ideology. Well, you see people, you are a socialist party and you want to form an alliance with a liberal party. How on earth would that function?
I think that there's a possibility for that. We have this union of, we'll call it confidence, that you come together not because you like yourself, but because you have a common opponent or enemy.
That happens at the assembly. For instance, if they are talking about abortion, Liberal Party, they could be talking about the budget of the country.
No, let me give you an example. I will allow you to continue to talk, because this is a very important thing. You know, people who are listening to us, that some of them have a very high level of reasoning. We know when it came to the world wars that we studied in history, we had alliances of convenience. We had countries who never agreed, but because they had a common enemy, they had to come together. So I still want to insist on the fact that people who don't have the same ideology could come together for convenience sake.
People that don't have common ideology can come together based on general interest. For instance, if they are talking about the budget that is supposed to be given to the military and it's too much, parliamentarians at the assembly, even if they are from socialist and liberal, they can come together because of that. That is general interest. But when it comes to
why
election,
don't you think that election is not? No. Why don't you think that election also is general interest? There's a general interest in election.
And the chairman of SDF said it from his last interview, that if there is an alliance between a liberal and a social and win the election, what will we have? Is it not chaos? He himself, he said it. Because he knows, the chairman knows the reality of what I'm saying when it concerns an alliance. It can happen at the assembly.
And that's why you are not seeing the SDF in some of those
But when it comes to presidential election, there should be people of the same ideology that can work together.
Okay, you actually agree, because I was going to ask you, why has the SDF been shying away, or not actually shying away, taking a different position when it comes to political parties coming into an alliance?
There are many platforms in which the SDF participates. There's a platform of opposition parties that was talking about the revision of the Electoral Code. We are part of it, and now coming to national election like the presidential election, It's an issue of ideology and a plan, a political program that we have to propose to Cameroonians. And you know, socialist parties will not propose the same parties like liberal parties or other fronts of the politics. But I would say that most of these platforms that have been put in place, most of these alliances that have been put in place, they come to the SDF, and some of the questions we ask them are very pertinent questions that makes them always go away, because we ask them some of the questions. What is bringing us together? That's the first question we ask them. What is bringing us together? Because if we don't have something that is bringing us together, we are together and we get to power, we'll put Cameroon back than what CPDM have done.
Well, that statement, you take responsibility for it.
Of course.
Now, Richard, you've followed what the previous speakers, especially the representatives of the two political parties, have said. Your comment on that, then I'll ask you one question.
Yeah, the first thing is I agree with what they've said as far as preparations are concerned towards next year's election. First, I agree that they participated in ensuring that their supporters are registered in the electoral list, which is good. And talking about the alliance, we understand some are already coming together, forming an alliance until they have designated a candidate from the civil society as their presidential candidate, which means for them they're already ready for the elections. But then the key political act or parties in this country, they seem to be still trying to watching each other from a distance to see who is going to do what before they come in. And I think, like you from your analysis you made and said, the Electoral College might be called up by July 2025. And let us also understand one thing. I mean, the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, is described in many facets as a political Maradona. He can still surprise Cameroonians without respecting. Without waiting for 2025. He can anticipate elections.
The elections cannot be postponed.
And it cannot be postponed. And if that is done, I'm afraid it is going to take some of these key political parties off guard, except for the CPDM and maybe the SDF, who are already on the ground working. And talking about alliance, which you asked him about why is the SDF. I'm not a supporter of the SDF, but I think from what O.C. Joshua, the national chairman of the SDF, has said, is that coming together, I mean, do these political parties, what do you have in terms of representation? Do you have up to 25,000 militants? Because we have about 25,000 polling stations. And so if a political party cannot have a representative in that polling station, then there is no reason for me to form an alliance with you when you cannot send somebody to represent you. Apart from, let me say, the CPDM, and to a greater extent, the SDF, who they don't have, because of the dwindling situation that you mentioned a while ago. I think that if the presidential election is anticipated, it is going to take many of these political parties off guard, except those who think that they can hang on the bigger political parties like the CPDM or the SDF or
thank you very much for now. No anticipation.
That Cameroon that we have at our last neck, with the report that we had from our regional chairs and the Secretary General, harmonized by the Secretary General, we have about 75% of our polling agents ×3 already.
Wow. Where did you get them from?
Cameroon. They are Cameroonians and militants.
Okay.
75%.
×3.
So that is part of preparations, because in our research we saw that there are so many reasons and factors that make you know that you are preparing for an election. Getting those monitors, those representatives in the polling station is one of them. We also have, you talked about revising the electoral regulation. That is one of them, and we have some others. Now tell us, Mr. Mofo, what are other things that political parties have to do when important elections are coming up, apart from what we have already talked about?
Yeah, thank you once more, Mr. Killian. I think I've mentioned so many things, but one of the factors I'm going to bring it up here will be the notion of security situation. You know, our country now is facing so many challenges, ranging from security challenges from the north, the far north, the southwest, and the northwest. How are they going to manage a smooth running of election in this area? So I think if they try to put a situation where voters will go out freely and come back without being hurt, I think it will boost their morale, and I think the election will go on smoothly. But this is a difficult thing for me, because given our time frame, I don't see how...
There are safe zones. It has been done before. They know which areas to take people to and which not to, because there's just no way you can suggest that people's lives should be put at risk just to let them go free. So it has been done before, once, twice, even 3 times, because we've had the presidential election, we have the twin municipal and legislative elections, we have had regional elections during the crisis, and that was done, I think.
Just that during some of those elections, most of the representatives of the SDF were kidnapped just in front of ELECAM offices with their documents and their cautions.
Other parties, that is just what I wanted to say without defending. We just have to,
but we saw your list validated.
Even CPDM is the highest risk.
But we saw your list. We saw all your list validated.
They agree with me with this point of the security situation.
We saw all their list validated. All.
Mr. Killians, I think the life of the Cameroonians should be taken into consideration when we are moving towards 2025 presidential elections. Another point that I'm going to bring it up is the notion of political parties and competition. In some countries, for instance, let me say in the United States, where they are also preparing their own election come 2025 , you see the
presidential election is next week.
Permit me.
9 days.
In just 9 days.
Yes.
Permit me. In just 9 days, we saw how they were competing out. But here, the ruling party, the CPDM, we however see some movement out. The SDF, but the population want to see that kind of. Let them organize a debate and talk. Exchange, because are here to present to the whole Cameroonian their political agenda.
Okay, and a debate between the chairman of the SDF and the chairman of CPDM.
Between the political leaders, the presidential candidates.
The presidential candidate.
This is, pardon, please. You are very correct, but this is what we have in the United States that you're talking about.
Cameroon.
No, not that.
Not that Cameroon is Cameroon.
Excuse me. You see in the US, at the end, we have 2 candidates,
yes, of course,
which is easy to bring them together. In Cameroon, we have so many candidates. So
240.
Well, generally when we have elections, we have about 10. We have about.
No, it's about. I think it's about 16 parties.
16
that are
parties
eligible because they are elected.
Officials.
If at the end of the day, some will not form alliance.
At that level, you cannot say that they are doing it that way. We are not doing it. We are not ruling that out. We just have to recognize that our contexts are different. But without saying that point doesn't hold ground. Exactly, because different political parties, leaders can still hold a debate. But then, if they carry out their political agenda, propaganda, and programs to the public, for example, CRTV opens to all the competing political parties and gives them time, and they come and you confirm with me that when you come here, what you say is not controlled. You say it the way it is during the 2 weeks of campaign. Now we are going to move out of this program today in 4 minutes, but there is one point I would like you to answer.
Yeah.
Since the SDF you confirm also with me, has decided never to do what they used to be very popular because of that, to boycott nation. Don't you see that by not boycotting, they are losing popularity? Because they used to say we boycott, and then they polled so many people, they became more popular. Now they have said they will not boycott any election.
The decision not to boycott any election in Cameroon again was taken after assessing the consequences of boycotting the 1997 elections. And I think all those who assisted in this meeting were unanimous that if you are not part of the meeting or if you are not part of the game, you cannot talk of the game. You can only be a player
if you are taking part.
And today we see the consequences of one political party who boycotted in 2018, and today we can see some of the consequences. But I want to say,
there you are very correct. That is your last word. We have 2 minutes.
Yes, I want to say that for us in the Social Democratic Front, we are very, very prepared. Even if election is tomorrow, we think we'll be able, for now, to cover at least 75% of the polling stations in Cameroon, because our regional chairmen and the decentralized organs of the party are working geared towards winning 2025 election.
Richard?
Yeah, I think, Killian, my wish to all political contenders ahead of the 2025 presidential election is that they should really have representations in the field. Now, Elecam is trying to clean the electoral list. Let them go through to be sure that, nothing happens to the electoral list, so that their supporters will be able to vote. And for those who will be voting, it's not yet time of campaign. Don't vote and go. Vote and protect your vote.
And to that, Tom Stoppard, who is a Czech-born British writer and playwright, says that it is not the voting that is democracy, it is the counting. Yes, that is what he says. Now, the way forward, Mr. Moffo.
Thank you. I just wish there should be a kind of political dialogue among the contestants so that we will have the true picture of what our upcoming presidential election will look like.
Thank you very much. And Robert Kedia?
Yes, for my party now, what we're interested is to bring out a powerful manifesto that will seduce our electors. And behind that manifesto, a good communication strategy is being done on how to sell it, because what the opposition does is they spend their time insulting other political parties rather than selling their own ideology. We are struggling also at the level of our party our party is very national because we respect all ethnic groups, all tribes, to make them part of the party. Whereas people talk about alliance, but they focus in one particular region of the country. But us, we are looking at things in a national perspective.
So you are ready.
The contribution is being done in our party, people that pay their cut, so that we have our finances. I believe that the opposition should do that and raise funds, and not to have that assumption that is state fund when we are contributing our hard-earned money.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. If you missed out on any point on today's edition of Press Hour, you will catch up on a full broadcast on Monday at 2:30 and on Wednesday at 9 p.m. on CRTV News. On behalf of the production team, I say thank you for watching.